This next story really could have a direct impact on how we live in the very near future. The grandson of the legendary economist Milton Friedman is making waves with a new idea, something called seasteading. Here's an artist rendering of what it would look like sometime in the near future. It's being billed really as Burning Man meets Silicon Valley meets the water. It's a planned floating nation or city constructed on barges and water platforms within eyesight of the city of San Francisco. It will have everything like schools and homes and hospitals and bikes for transportation, even aqua farms for food. Now, the man behind Seasteading is Patri Friedman. He joins us via Skype right now. Welcome, first of all.
Thanks.
I guess you won't have to worry about getting an ocean view here.
Everyone gets an ocean view.
All right. So what sort of inspired this, for lack of better terms, water world idea?
Well, it's the idea of being able to experiment with new societies, new political, legal, and social systems. You know, we can't find better ways of living together unless we try new ones.
Would this be akin to perhaps like an oil rig that you find out in the ocean that's almost like a floating city?
That's right. It's a floating city. It'll probably start out on ships. Eventually, it'll look like oil rigs, then eventually like an entire city.
And what are we talking about in terms of size? Something perhaps the size of San Francisco, a half mile or a mile square?
My goal is multiple floating Hong Kongs.
And we talked about you having some major backing on this. Where does it stand? When might we see this?
We're going to see the first businesses on ships in just the next few years. There will be villages on oil rig-like platforms in probably about 5 to 10 years, and then starting to approach city size in about 15 years.
And what kind of reaction do you get when you tell people about this idea?
Some people love it as soon as they hear it. Some people find it unbelievable as soon as they hear it. And I just remind them about how many people are out there living on oil rigs and traveling on cruise ships already.
Well, you know, you call it seasteading, I believe. Is that sort of like the old term homesteading? I mean, how do you pick a place in the ocean, and does anyone own the property?
Yeah, that's a great question. We do think of it like homesteading the high seas, and the way international law works right now is that you have to fly the flag of some country, and it's like you're under their jurisdiction, but it can be any country in the world. It's almost a way that a country can kind of franchise themselves out around the world. So we can talk to countries and get them to make a deal where we get local independence, and they take care of geopolitical.
Would you be flying under the U.S. flag? And where would you be in terms of proximity to San Francisco? Would you be inside the Golden Gate Bridge or outside further?
Well, the territorial waters extend out 12 miles from the shore, so we'd have to be at least that far out. In terms of a U.S. flag, I don't think the U.S. would want to cut one of these flagging deals to basically let us have local independence in return for some revenue share. I think it's much more likely to be a small country that wants to find ways to cash in on its sovereignty, the way that Tuvalu did with their .tv domain name.
Now, we mentioned you went to Harvey Mudd in Claremont here. Was this something you had dreams of when you went to college here in Southern California?
It was actually just a few years later, after going to Burning Man and just thinking about how we could try out new things, but permanently, not just a festival for a weekend, but new ways of living full time.
Now, I read somewhere you have 10 people working on this now, and you expect by 2012 to be out there?
Yeah, we've got 10 people working right now at our nonprofit, the Seasteading Institute, and we expect in just the next few years, several businesses on ships to start operating. This is things like medical tourism, so people go to India and Thailand for less expensive medical treatments when their insurance won't cover it at home. We can put that on a boat just 12 miles offshore.
Okay, I'm a little confused about something. Would you be considered U.S. citizens then, or sort of a world community? What kind of government would you have?
These are great questions. So because seasteading is a decades-long vision, the answers are different at each stage. So at the beginning, everyone would stay U.S. citizens, and the seastead wouldn't be recognized as a new country. But that's okay. U.S. citizens are allowed to live elsewhere. And then in time, as we became a large economic and political power in the world, eventually, 30, 40 years, we become our own country and can issue our own passports.
And Patri, how do you live there? Do you buy into this? I mean, would you pay rent?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're hoping to be able to offer mortgages for condos on board if we can get bank financing. But that really depends on the specific business model for each seastead. I think some of them are going to be commercial operations, like a hospital where you come if you're a doctor or a nurse or a patient. Others will be communities where a group of people get together or sell their houses and pool the money and buy into these. And then eventually it'll be like any city. You'll be able to buy or rent or visit.
All right. Well, Patri, good luck on that. And we hope to be talking to you soon.
Sounds like a plan. I'll save you a spot.
All right. Thank you. I'd love an ocean view.